A bipartisan group of lawmakers is planning to hold a press conference with survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse next week on Capitol Hill as the House prepares for that vote to force the DOJ to release all the files it has on Epstein's case. It is still a bit of a long shot because the Senate vote would follow, and it's unclear, even unlikely, that the president would sign it. That's despite the pleas of Epstein survivors like Annie Farmer, who wrote in a statement, "Survivors deserve more than a trickle of information. It's time to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act and for a full release of the Epstein files." Joining me now, Spencer Kuvin, an attorney who represents multiple Epstein victims. It's good to have you back on the show. New emails, a fight to get a vote. How intense is all this, and how are the victims you represent feeling right now?
Thank you for having me on again. Obviously, this is incredibly intense, but I think we have to take this with a grain of salt because these are emails that, as the attorneys for the victims, we've known about, unfortunately, for years. They've been under protective order and only just now been released as a result of the actions of some of the strong and brave victims that brought a case against the federal government as a result of the sweetheart deal that they gave to Jeffrey Epstein back in 2008 and 2009. That's the only reason why these emails were originally uncovered. So the public is now seeing what the attorneys for the victims have known for years. But again, what we want are the videotapes and the photographs that the FBI has in their custody.
So do you think, because one of the things we've heard repeatedly up and down after seeing these emails is what's the context? To really understand fully, we need to see everything because we don't know in what context they are. Do you think this is giving more impetus than you've seen to the push to get that release?
Yeah, I would hope so. I certainly would hope so. You know, look, it's one thing for the attorneys on behalf of the victims to say repeatedly over, almost now 20 years that there's more to this story, that there's more information that the public needs to see. It's another for the public to actually see what we've been talking about. And that's what the public is now getting an opportunity to see with these emails. I am here to say that there is even more, a lot more. And that's going to be photographs and video evidence of who was inside of the homes and what they were doing when they were there.
There's a lot of reporting that the White House tried to pressure the Republican women who signed on to the Epstein Files petition, including Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, called into a meeting in the Situation Room at the White House with the Attorney General, the FBI director. What's your reaction to that?
Disgusting. I mean, that's the only reaction that any human being should have to something like that. Anyone with a heart should be fighting to disclose this information. The victims want this information disclosed so the world can see who these perpetrators are. Now, blur out the faces of the minor victims that were involved in this conspiracy, but otherwise, everyone should be able to see who was there. There should be a full disclosure of information, not a trickle.
I also want to play for you something that the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about yesterday, and that was a pardon, potential pardon, commutation, not a pardon, commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
Even go ahead. Well, if the president is considering a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Again, he's answered this repeatedly. It's not something he's talking about or even thinking about at this moment in time. I can assure you of that.
At this moment in time, how do you read that?
Yeah, there's no reason to qualify that type of statement. He is not thinking about, nor will he ever commute or pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. That's what she should have said. Ghislaine Maxwell is a convicted sex predator and a convicted liar. She belongs behind bars for a very long time. This is not someone that should be able to trade on her privilege while the victims of Epstein and Maxwell suffer for the rest of their lives with what those two did to them. She should stay in jail as long as possible.
Spencer Kuvin, thank you so much for coming on the show again.